Yeah, fine. So welcome back everyone. So good evening everyone. So I already opened my chat window here and to avoid as usual just to avoid the disturbance. So I just kept everyone on mute. If any questions or concerns, you just ping me here. The chat window is open here. I will take that questions and I'll try to answer all those as much as I can. So in this today's topic, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna cover the data guard implementation, the basic fundamental steps, what all steps you need to take care. So this is applicable to both standalone as well as the React database. Okay, so if you see here, this is my the production box. It has the 19C database here. If you see, this is the environment setting. ORCL is the database, and you forgot about this other database. ORCL is the 19 database. Standalone, it is running here, and there's no TNS entry for that, no listener for that right now. And this is my the data guard setup. So data guard standby database name, I'm going with ORCL, the SB. SB stands for standby, and the Oracle binaries are all set up here. And you forgot about this other database which is running. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to set up the DR data guard for this ORCL, and that is going to be ORCL standby. So before I just start, just a quick fundamental things, just to brief what is primary, as everyone knows, is a production database, read write mode, and what is standby, that's a secondary. Whatever transaction you do at production, everything will be replicated to standby, and that will be applied on my standby side, and both production and standby will be in sync. To for disaster recovery purpose, we'll build our standby. So your standby will be in mount mode or open read only mode or read write mode. Read write in the sense when you have your snapshot standby database, then you will open your database in read write mode, right? So any mode your standby database is going to be, but whereas primary is read write. And the types of standby database, like physical standby database, logical standby database, snapshot standby database. These are the three types of standby database. And if come to the physical standby database, it go up to read only. It can be in mount mode or it go up to read only mode, and where you can apply, it will support for redo apply. Whereas in logical standby, it will apply for SQL apply, that is a logical SQL statement, and it can go up to open read write mode. And if you read this content, whatever I mentioned here, allows use of the Oracle Active Data Guard. This is a licensed product. You need to get a license from Oracle. So if you're having a physical standby database, you have to get Oracle Active Data Guard license and allow use of Oracle Active Data Guard option, read only and open mode. When you have this Oracle Active Data Guard license, you can take your physical standby database to read only and the open mode. Without license, you cannot take that. And if you have physical standby database, it will support for switchover or failover. The both the scenarios are supported. If you have logical standby database, as I said, it's SQL apply. Logical SQL statements are converted and then applied, and it will be in read write mode and open user for accessing certain tables while applying the changes. The primary will be keep applying the changes, and also at the same times, it will allow to users to modify some certain tables because your database will go up to read write mode. Logical standby tables can be opened for SQL queries, that is read only. So, and the all other standby tables can be used for the update statement. So what basically I'm trying to say here, logical standby database is supported for read only as well as read write access, along with the log apply from the primary to the logical standby. When it comes to the standby snapshot standby database, there is no redo apply because snapshot standby database, you are opening with the read write mode. And when you open your read write mode, the redo logs will not be applied from the production to the standby. And guarantee restore point you have to create before you are converting into snapshot standby database. And again, switchover or failover is not permitted when in case of snapshot standby database. So whichever option you can go with as per need, physical standby, logical standby, or snapshot standby. These are the different offerings. And few of the services I quickly touch base. The redo transport service, which will run always on the production side, and which is responsible for sending the archive logs or the read logs from the production to the standby. Manage the process of resolving the gap. This is the one. This service is the one is responsible for managing the gap. Like it will say it will check my production standby database whether it's sync or not. If it is having any gap, automatically detect that missing archives and it will send it. And apply service, it will run at my DR side, standby side. It's going to be redo apply or the SQL apply. And the role transmission, again, switch over or failover. Switch over, you can convert DR to production, production to DR. Failover is if the production crash happens, if the production disaster happens, like fire, fire or earthquake or whatever it is at the production database or production data center, you can open your standby database in read-write mode and make it as a production and connect your application there. These are like major services runs. And data guard protection modes, three production modes: maximum availability, maximum performance, and maximum protection. Maximum availability, as the name suggests, availability, it's a zero data loss. Always it will be available. There is no data loss, zero data loss. Redo transport is synchronous in the sense the redo apply on the production side, on the standby side, it is simultaneously, synchronously applying the transactions at the same time on primary and the secondary. That is what the synchronous means. It will allow primary to continue and the standby slightly behind. Like if there's a slightly the gap between the primary and the standby, still you will be able to perform activities on your production side. And when it comes to the maximum performance, there's a minimal data loss, and redo transport is done asynchronously. And when it comes to the maximum protection, again, there's a zero data loss. Redo transport is synchronous. If you see here, redo transport is synchronous. Maximum availability and maximum protection, both are redo transport is synchronous. And then if you see here, if you see this availability, it will allow the primary to continue and the standby to slightly behind. Like if there's a slightly gap, then still you will be able to operate your production database. Whereas in maximum protection, the characteristics are same between the availability and the production, but primary will wait for the response from the standby side. If the standby is slightly behind, like it is unable to apply the redo log, your primary database will not be operational. Your primary database will be kind of freeze or kind of hung. So that's a major difference between the availability and the production. So as you see here, I said synchronous, but if this says slightly behind, then you can say this is as a asynchronous. But ideal scenario, it will be asynchronous. But when there is a gap happens between one or two archive gaps are slightly behind the production, then it will become asynchronous, right? Whereas in production, it is a synchronous, right? So I'll cover it, but these are the two most document you can go over. And some of the processes are like log writer processes, archiver processes, and LNS network service, and RFS remote file server, MRP managed recovery process, LSP logical standby process, LCR logical change record. These are like terminologies. You just go through it. Let's start with the implementation part. So this is going to be real quick because the steps, as I said, like like 3-4 steps. If you can do pre-checks, that definitely going to be successful at the end of the implementation. So first thing is you make sure that your database is in read-write mode, and it should be in the archive log mode. And second thing is you should have a proper TNS entry for this. So right now I'm at my network TNS admin. So I have my TNS files here. Make sure that you should have both your production database entries and the secondary database entries at your TNS file. That's the first check. If you see, ORCL is my production database and running on Oracle DB, and ORCL standby is my secondary database running under Oracle standby. SB stands for standby. These two entries are mandatory here in the TNS files. It is for the standalone. In case of RAC, you should have ORCL, and you should have ORCL1, and you should have ORCL2. Whatever the instance, you should have all the instance. And standby is also going to be or rack database, you should have ORCL standby and ORCL standby 1 and ORCL standby 2, all the instance and all the database entries you should have. That's the first check. So in our case, it's all done. And then I'll just cat my listener. So if I do cat listener.vara, listener underscore ORCL, this is my listener and running on this particular host, that is Oracle DB, and listening under 1522. So right now I don't, my listener is not started. I will start my listener. So lsnrctl start listener. So when it comes to the React database, you have to register your listener with your clusterware, and you have to use srvctl start listener and all those things. That's a React services. So you can start it, or you can manually also start the listener. That's fine. So your listener is started. If you check the status, the services should register dynamically. lsnrctl, you can see here, lsnrctl status listener underscore ORCL. My ORCL database is then ready. Ready state indicates dynamic registration. If it is unknown, it's a static registration. I already explained about that also. What is dynamic registration, static registration in my one of the YouTube session. You can refer it there. So how the static registration happens? You have to define your how the how this dynamic registration happens because of this particular parameter. Show parameter listener. Because of this local listener, if you mention this local listener to this particular host, Oracle DB localdomain.com and port 1522, automatically your pmon process will register database with your listener. So this is the dynamic registration. If you don't mention this particular entry in your database will never register to your listener because the port is 1522. If the database is learning or listening under 1521, even though if you don't mention this particular entry in at your database, automatically database registration will happen with your listener, even though if you don't mention it. So if you are using the port other than 1521, you have to specifically mention this listener entry at your database. Then only this database will register with the listener. So that is why, because of this listener, local listener entry, my database is automatically registered with my listener. If I check this command, it's already registered here, right? That's the one thing. And the second thing is you should make sure that your database should be in archive log mode. Archive log list is the command, whether it will tell whether it's archive log mode and enabled, and this is the db recovery file list, and these are the archive logs. So I have few commands, very basic few commands, what you need to set in order to build your data guard. One is archive log list. We already verified it's an archive log mode. And second is the force logging should be enabled. If you cat this one, force logging is enabled. If it is not enabled, alter database force logging. In your mount mode, you have to do alter database force logging. If it is no, you have to do it. Already it is enabled here. So I no need to do this command. If you want to do it, you have to shut down your database, start in no mount mode, start in mount mode and do this alter database force logging and start your database. That's the one thing. And already we verified our TNS names and listener names. And we already started our TNS, and I will do TNS ping of my listener now. Cat TNS ping. If I do ORCL TNS ping ORCL, I'm able to do TNS ping. If I do TNS ping for the standby database, it will fail because nothing is started over there. See, no listener and nothing here. So that's the first thing you need to verify. Next, these are the certain commands you need to set it, certain parameter you need to set it at your production site. One is DB unique name. So that should be whatever the unique name you can set it if that is already not set. So most of the time your DB unique name is going to be your database name, or both are same in case of production. So if I do show parameter DB unique name, you can stop me if you have any questions while I'm going through. A DB unique name, it is ORCL, and show parameter name. I can see show parameter name, service name is also ORCL. and the DB name is also ORCL, and DB unique name is also ORCL. So you have to verify DB unique name is set properly. And the second important thing is you need to set this log archive configuration. So log archive configuration is going to be a DG config, that is a data guard config, and that is going to be explaining my production database to standby database. This you need to mention the services. So log archive destination, log archive config, log archive configuration, how it is going to be, that is my database configuration, DG configuration, and I'm transferring the logs from the production server, that is ORCL, to the standby database. So if you have two standby database, you have to mention comma separated by the other standby database name. This is one of the parameter you need to set it. Otherwise, the log archive transfer will not send to your standby destination. Show parameter. See, show parameter DG config, that's a data guard config, and production database to standby database. If you have 2-3 standby databases, you have to mention all those standby databases. Difference between the DB name and DB unique name. So again, like DB name and DB unique name, most of the scenario it is going to be same. What happens in the organization like finance and some of the very some of the organization who barely depends upon SSO or AD authentication and all, what they will use, DB name is going to be ORCL, and the DB unique name. Okay, DB unique name you're asking, right? So the global name I was talking about global name. So DB unique name and DB name are going to be same for the most of the databases. And if you say the difference between the unique name is going to be same across, sorry, the unique name is going to be the individual to that particular database, and DB name is going to be same between your production database and your standby database, because you are shipping all the same arclog and same data file from the production database to the standby database. So you may have the same DB name between your production database and the standby database, but the DB unique name is an individual identity of that particular database. So it is going to be unique for all the databases. So most of the scenario, if you don't have the standby, except that data guard environment, on the all the primary site, your DB name and DB unique name are going to be same, ORCL and ORCL. When it comes to the standby, the DB name is going to be your production database name, because that standby database is a copy of my production database, and the DB unique name for the standby is going to be changing. And when it comes to the global name, the most of the finance and industry organization, what they will use, the DB name dot their domain name, like localdomain.com or like oracle.com. They, when it comes to the global name, they will use that domain name after the DB name. Right, so that's about the DB unique name and all. So, and then this is log archive config. You have to do DG config, and you have to mention all your standby database and production database over there. And the log archive destination one, is going to be your use DB recovery file dest and valid for all the log files and all the roles. All the log files means whatever your redo log you mentioned, all the log files are applicable here. All the roles means whatever the role of your database, whether it is whatever the role I mentioned here, right, in the database standby mode, whatever the mode of the database, logical standby, physical standby, whatever the standby, and everything will be transferred, and all the logs will be transferred, and then your DB unique name. So you have to mention the log archive destination 1 and log archive destination 2. So log archive destination 2 is your for 2 is for your standby destination. Your log archive destination 1, you are going to mention your DB recovery file dest, that is your FRA or your RECO disk group or whatever the disk group, that is local to that particular production database. Whereas log archive destination 2 is for your the standby database. So where you need to mention service name, and the log archive destination 1 you need to mention location, because that is local, that is internal to production database. And whereas log archive destination is going to be remote service, that is why you are going to mention service, and that service is going to be Oracle standby, so ORCL standby, that is your standby database. And how you want, whether you want a synchronous or asynchronous, you have to mention synchronous or asynchronous, and valid for online log transfer and the primary role. So this service is going to receive all the online log files from the primary role, from the production database. That is what this particular sentence indicates here. And the DB unique name is ORCL standby and scope. You are just mentioning it here. And then file service and file client. Don't worry right now, because if I try explaining this one, you will get confused. So as I said, like these two parameters not necessary at all if you talk about data guard build. So if you want only DB unique name to be set, again it will be default set for all the production database. So no need to worry for that also. So, and again, most important thing is your RK config, log RK config, log RK destination 1, log RK destination 2, and standby file management is auto. Means what happens after you set your production your standby database, if you create any new data file at your production site, automatically that file will be created at standby site if you mention auto. And if you mention manual, that's also fine. If you don't mention also, that's fine. You will be able to set up your standby database. And other two important parameters are DB name convert and log file name convert. DB file name convert, what it says, this is my this is my standby data file name, and this is my ORCL primary file name. And it talks about database file name convert. So whatever the standby file, it will be replaced. So whatever the production data files replaced with the as per the standby build. And whatever the log file of my production, that is ORCL online log, will be converted into ORCL standby online log. These two parameters are very, very important when you are going to build the different file system structure. In the standby side also, if you want to go ahead with this ORCL and ORCL, and you no need to mention anything about these two parameters, because your production, whatever the production data file structure, same will be followed to your standby side. So if you are having the different file system directory structure, then you need to give this DB file name convert, log file name convert. Okay, hardly these are like 5-6 parameters. If you set it at your production side, so you will be able to build your standby database. So I'll quickly verify this show parameter. Okay, see show parameter log RQ destination 2, that is service for my ORCL, that is standby service, and no affirm, no async, and valid for online log files, and valid for production role, primary role, and DB unique name is ORCL standby. So this is the one setting you have to do. And log RK config, as I told, it's going to be data guard config primary to standby side. So these are like 2-3 parameters you have to set it at production side, and you don't worry about the listener. So if you do these settings at your production side, your production setting is done. So you no need to do anything extra. So Aramse, you can easily build your database. I hope this is clear up to here. I removed all the unnecessary parameters. So keep in mind, one is log RK config, log RK destination 1, 2, and DB file name convert, log file name convert. These are 5 parameters you have to set it at your production site, and make sure that your TNS and listeners are all fine, and start your listener and production site, and the force logging should be enabled, and your database should be Narca log mode. These are like hardly 7-8 checks you have to do it at your standby side. And then I will go to the standby side now. So now if I go to standby, you no need to worry about the standby P file. If you see my standby P file, I just kept my DB name. You can see DB name is equal to my production DB name. You no need to mention your DB unique name, or you no need to mention any of the local listener. So I just commented out. So if you want, I can just remove this one. So you don't worry about anything at your P file at your standby side. You just need to give in the init.orcl, you can see init.orcl standby.ora. You just need to give your production database name, that is DB name and ORCL. If you mention that, that is more than enough. And now I'll go to my listeners and net, TNS. All right. So here I'll quickly check on the TNS first, so that it's easy to understand. So in the TNS, as similar to the production, I should have my standby settings. I should have my the production settings, all the TNS entry of my standby database, all the production entry of my TNS entry of my production database. See, running on Oracle DB and Oracle standby. So these are the two entries similar to what you see in production side, right? That's a TNS. And coming to the listener, one very, very important thing is you are going to add the static registration of your listener. So whereas in the production TNS entry production listener file, you don't have anything. The listener name and the protocol, host name, and the port. Only 3 parameters you have here in the production listener. Whereas it comes to the standby listener, you have the same thing. The listener name, listener, ORCL, standby, and the protocol, host name, and the port. These 3 are common. And apart from that, you are going to add the database, standby database detail at your listener side. If you see here, what is my Oracle home, what is my global name, and what is my SID. So I'm going to specifically mention these instance, my standby instance detail inside my listener. The moment you start your listener, automatically this instance or this database is getting registered with this listener. So I will show you that. Now I will do start of this listener. PS-EF grep TNS. I don't have any listener now. LSNRCTL status. If I do status of this listener, it is not running. So I'm going to start this listener. Automatically that database will be registered with that listener. Start. See, I just did a start. LSNRCTL start. ORCL standby is unknown state. As I said, unknown in the sense it is going to be static registration. Static registration in the sense you are going to mention your database or the instance details inside your listener. The moment listener starts, automatically this instance or this database will be registered with my listener. So that's why the status says ORCL standby instance 1 and status is unknown. So it is listening here, right? So that's one thing you need to check it here. And other thing is from the primer site, you need to copy your password file. So this is my password file, Vora PW ORCL. And what is the password? How you can verify? You can verify with this one. SQL plus, you should make sure that your password file is properly set. SQL plus sys/password @ORCL as sysdba. Right, so I'm able to connect to my production database. So this password file you need to copy to your standby site. And if we do SCP of this one, I already did a SCP of this particular password file to your standby site under DBS. And then once you copy that one, this is the password file Vora PW ORCL, and then you need to change that ORCL, whatever the production name, you need to change it to the standby instance name here, ORCL standby. I just renamed here. So how to verify that one? The same command, whatever you verified here, you need to verify it at your standby side, and you need to change that instance service name as the standby, ORCL standby. So if you see here, connected to idle instance, right? Your password file is working perfectly fine now. So now you need to start your instance. We have my P file, which is having only the database name. I'm going to start the instance now. sysdba. You need to do startup no mount, because when you do the restore, that is where your database will create your SP file and it will mount your database and it will open with reset logs. Or if it is a duplicate database, it will open with the reset log. And if it is you're building the standby database, it will go up to mount mode, and then you can start your recovery. So I'll do startup no mount. See, it connected to idle instance here. It means your password file is working fine. So now we started our database in no mount mode, and again we'll verify one more time. I'll exit this one, and then I will run the same command. Where is that? Okay, here it is. SQL plus sys Malik 123 @ORCL standby and sysdba. See, connected now. My instance is in no mount mode, right? So this is what the 3-4 checks at the standby side you need to make sure. Like one is listener, TNS, and your password file. If that is done, you're almost done. You are ready to build your standby database. This is a simple run block. You don't worry about this channel. The command is duplicate target database for standby from active database. If you are building your standby using the online mode from the production side. If you want to go with the backup phase, you can go with this command. I'll explain it quickly. Let's we did now startup no mount, and now at your standby site, you can export your production database, export Oracle SID equal to ORCL, and connect to Armen, connect to target sys malik123 at the rate ORCL. It will connect to my production standby database. Export Oracle SID ORCL, and then now I'll connect Armen target sys malik123 ORCL. So from the secondary site, I'm going to connect to Armen of my production database, Armen prompt of my production database. If you have a recovery catalog, you can use the recovery catalog, but I don't have a recovery catalog, so I'm directly connecting to my production database Armen command, Armen prompt using the service method ORCL. Right, then I'll connect to auxiliary instance. Connect auxiliary sys malik123 same password and ORCL standby, where you have just started your instance. That database is not yet into mount mode or not into any of the open or whatever the mode. Like it is just started. If you do connect auxiliary, you can see auxiliary database ORCL not mounted. You don't confuse with ORCL and ORCL, because this ORCL database is my production database, and this particular ORCL database is my standby database, because database name is same between production and the standby. Only the unique name is going to be difference. Okay, so few questions I'll take it now here. Okay. TNS entries on the primary should be having the entry of standby and vice versa. Yeah, same, like, whatever the entry you have at your production side, same entry should be having in your standby side, because in production also you should have production database name, production instance name, and standby database name and standby instance name. All entries should be there in your production side. Same side in standby side also you should have all your production side and the standby side. Again, it is based upon the need. So you no need to have entry of the TNS all the instances. If you are dealing with the rack, it's not mandatory to have all the database names and all the instance name across all the instances, all the nodes. But one of the best practice what I used to follow, if I have a 2-node rack of production, 2-node rack of my standby, I will have a database name entry 1, and I have both the instant entry, 3 entry for my production, and the 3 entry for my standby. Totally 6 entry I will have it in TNS entry, because I will try to keep the synchronous TNS entry file between all the nodes. So it's better to have all the instances and all the databases in your TNS. Both are same. Both the standby and the production TNS entry will be same as. And the other one is the purpose of having the different DB name, DB unique name. What's the service name? I'll put from both of the. No, service name again that is going to be different concept. It is not necessarily you have to have your service name is equal to your database name or the database unique name. You can have the service name altogether different. It is not mandatory to have the service name same as your DB name or DB unique name. Service name also you can give whatever you want to wish. Sometimes you may need to create more than one service name. Sometimes 3-4 service name you need to create for the 3-4 applications. For example, if you have finance and HR or some other application, you have to create a different service name and give that service name to that particular application. They will connect using that service name. So again, service name is altogether different concept that is nowhere related to my DB name or the DB unique name. So Krishna has one question: do you need to copy password file whenever? Yeah, that is absolutely true. Whenever you do change sys password at your production site, immediately you have to copy that password file to your standby side. If you don't copy, your log, the log transportation will stop. Your Arca log will not ship to your standby site. Don't stick to that one. Arca log will ship to your standby site. It will be there in your standby site, but it will not apply at your standby site. Right, then yes, we need to copy whenever. Okay, yeah, Narayana has answered for that. Okay, so far so good, I hope. So we verified password file, we verified Okay, Sadhana is telling from 19C it is not required to copy the password file. The reason behind that is, if you are having the password file uh, in your ASM disk group. So again, what I feel, rather than when you are building your standby database, you should copy your password file locally to your standby site. Because you will not be directly connecting to your disk group when you are building your password file. So better while initial stage, while you are building your standby database, so you have to copy password file manually to local file system. If you see here, like one of the 19C data guard build document, what I said few weeks back, I just copied the password file locally and I copied to standby site. That is one of the best practice, because sometimes it will the restore will fail if you don't have a local password file copy. See, you can copy local password file from ASM prod. Uh, Ideally in 19C and all, what happens, the password file will be in your ASM disk group. So you need to copy it locally into your local file system, and then copy that to your the standby site, and then you can start your data guard build. And then, or else you can copy that to your disk group and then start your data guard build. So that's the thing here. But that's the best practice to have local copy of before, because just to avoid last minute failure or whatever it is while building the data guard. So this is a few things you need to verify it. And then we verified exported SID, we connected to RMAN of my production prompt, and also we connected to auxiliary instance. Okay, coming to the restore command, it's very simple. You are allocating the channels. You can allocate 4, 8, 12 based upon your RAM, based upon your CPU. You're going to allocate the channels for your production. P stands for production. Channel name you can give anything. I allocated 4 channels for production, 4 channels for my standby, and then single command. See, this is the command: duplicate target database for standby from active database. It means whatever the production database is up and running, directly copy all the data files and all those from the production database, and it will restore it at my standby. And then SP file, what SP file is says, the parameter value convert, whatever the production name, I'm going to convert it to Oracle standby, ORCL standby, that is my standby name, and set the DB name, that is ORCL, and set the DB unique name, that is ORCL standby, and DB file name convert, and log file name convert. DB file name convert, whatever the ORCL production file name convert, I'm going to convert it as a standby, and whatever the log file, you can see ORCL online log, I'm converting into ORCL standby online log. One is my Vora data location and one is FRA location. FRA location also I have this ORCL online log, and FRA also I have this ORCL standby online log. You can see only 4-5 parameter if you set it: DB name, DB nickname, DB file name convert, log file name convert, and the parameter what is ORCL to standby database. So if you run this one, that's build your standby database with the active database duplicate. So you can see here it started allocating the channels. Okay, interesting. Got some failures. Always the errors are best to troubleshoot, and I love whenever there's a failure. Failure of duplicate command. Okay, aborting duplicate target database. Duplicate without target connection will, when auxiliary instance is started with the SP file, cannot use SP file clause. Okay, what it's saying here, let's go back to our script. We are maintaining duplicate target database for standby database and the SP file clause, and then duplicate without target connection. It says unable to connect to my target database when auxiliary instance is started with the SP file, right? So because of this, one of the connection method, what I used to prefer, I'll just go back to my instance. Sys DBA. Okay, connected to idle instance. Let me verify it. I'll just set back to my environment settings here. right? So ORCL is set. Show parameter HTNR listener. Show parameter. Okay. This is dynamically as taken because we have statically registered at my listener side. So this is fine. So now you can go back to your connection method. Whatever you verified connectivity for your production database, we will verify it from the standby side. SQL plus sysmalik at that ORCL as sysdba. So this is fine. And one more verify. This is your standby site, ORCL standby. So your standby is you are able to connect to standby and you are able to connect to your production site. So it is all fine at the connectivity part. And then the issue what it is, pointing out here, cannot use a SP file clause. Cannot use a SP file clause because this is dynamically SP file will be restored from your, where is that? Whenever you do active database duplicate, let me open back that one. Whenever you do the active database duplicate for your standby database, automatically your SP file will be restored from your production database. So you are specifically mentioning SP file, and then it is unable to pick that particular parameter here. So what I'm going to do here now, I'm going to remove this particular. No, I'm going to keep this particular SP file clause, and then I'm going to restart one more time this particular restore. Okay, so we'll start this one and quickly two more concept here. I use duplicate target database for my standby database from active database. If you see here, duplicate target database for standby database from active database, this is the one clause you can give that will again restore your standby database, and the other class is duplicate database, and you can mention your database name. If you prefer to, like, ORCL standby, you can mention ORCL standby also for your active database duplicate. This is active database duplicate. Or if you want to use the backup location, the same command, duplicate target database for standby from your backup location. You have to give that. If you have a backup location of your production database, you can give that one, or the duplicate database, and you can mention the database name, that is your standby database name for standby, and from the backup location you can give whatever. These two commands are from backup location, and these two commands are from the active database. So we are going with the active database duplicate now. So let's go back to that issue what we faced, and I'll go back now. Let me bring this particular document what I was explaining here. And this one, where is that? Okay. Duplicate target database for standby from active database, and SP file and parameter name convert, and set DB name, and set this like again, if you want to have, you can have all this in a script. And I'm just comparing what I'm using and what is this particular parameter talks about here, because we are specifically mentioning SP file. Where is that SP file? SP file and the parameter value convert, and then set DB name, set DB nickname, and set DB file name convert. Okay, let's try one more time, same command. Okay, so I'll just take it here. Because SP file is, we are forcefully mentioning that SP file, it has to pick the SP file. I don't know, like we can Google it also. Give me a second, like we'll start the environment once again. Export SID, that's fine. Arm target, I'm connecting to my production database. That's fine. Connect to auxiliary instance. Right, so next again I'll try one more time, And this column is all fine. Duplicate target database from SP file. Let's check this particular error message. You can go with Oracle support as well. Okay, duplicate target database failure, SQL plus, shutdown immediate, and okay, they are creating a default SP file, and then they're trying to remove keyword SP file. Okay, they're removing the keyword SP file. Ideally, that should not be the case. Okay, so what we can do one more thing. So we will create our SP file with whatever the parameter we defined, and then we will start it one more time. Okay, so ORCL standby is the one thing. Okay, let's connect to SQL plus /SDBA. Okay, create SP file from P file. Okay, we need to give that P file location. Cannot create a SP file already being used by instant. Oh, already being used. Okay, something wrong with the SP file. Let's remove the SP file because I have my old SP file that might be the causing issue here. Okay, I got the issue. So this was the environment I used my previous data guard build, and then I had this SP file. And then when I did this startup no mount, it started with the SP file. That is where we are unable to restore it. So that's good. We finally found out the issue. Show parameter SP file. You can see it started with the SP file. So this SP file has a lot of parameters. So let me check this particular SP file, what it has. If you do, this is a since SP file, I'll use the OS utility called strings. Strings is the Linux OS utility, which will help us reading the SP file. You have to use the strings and the SP file name. That's a binary file. See, this SP file has a lot of parameters, whereas our P file, what we had or not, the just P file, it is just a single DB name we give, right? Because of that, our restore command was failing. So what I'll do, I'll remove this SP file or I'll move it as a backup file. Sorry for that, I have not done the proper cleanup when I shut down my standby database. So now what I'll do, I'll shut down my database and I'll start with that init file. sysdba and shut immediate. Now we will start it with this P file. Why I started with the startup no mount? Because I thought there's only one init file. So I forgot there's a SP file, the old SP file. The moment you do startup, the priority is first it will look for SP file. If it is SP file available, it will use that SP file and it will start. If there's no SP file, it will go to the init file and it will start the database. Otherwise, one of the best practice, when you create your init file, you have to mention that init file location to avoid this kind of issues or this kind of confusion, whatever we had, right? So now I'll do startup no mount. Now this time there's no SP file. We renamed it as a backup, and now obviously it will take my init file. If I do show parameter SP file, it will not show. Right? See, no SP file. No SP file in the sense it started with the init file. Right? So that's done now. Now we will connect back to the RMAN and we'll start the same restore command. Export my production database and connect to RMAN prompt of my production database. Right? And connect to my standby auxiliary instance. Right? Connected to auxiliary instance. Now we will do the same run block. Enter. This time it should go fine. You can see, right? It is restoring my SP file now. SP file restore is done. Where is that? See, SP file restore is done. Restoring SP file and restore completed. My SP file is ready now. So once SP file is ready, it started with the restore. Okay, so Pratap has a question while configuring the rack or ASM standalone data guard setup. It is possible to take a tar backup of a grid home from the primary and relink it the standby. No, that is not supported. You cannot take a tar backup of your grid home and then restore it at the standby side. That is not supported. So because all your voting disk OCR everything should be the new, and that should be on that server. So it is not supported. But there is a concept called what is that? Starting with the 12C, that's a concept. RHP. I forgot what is that, man. Give me a second. I'll tell you that. Oracle RHP. Rapid home provisioning. Rapid home provisioning. That is fleet patching. That's correct. Fleet patching or rapid home provisioning is the one of the concept. So you can tar or you can create your gold image copy of your grid or your database or your Oracle binaries, and you can do all the patching activities, whatever it is, and then just do a tar or that take that image copy and then deploy it in any of the rack environment. It is applicable to your rack or your gold, your grid or your database, and upgrade also. Everything is possible over there. Yeah, you can see the restore it's successful now. So restore is done. You can as I said, these are like 4 you can use active database with mentioning the standby database name or without mentioning the standby database name, and active database duplicate again from the backup location by mentioning your DB name or without mentioning your DB name. These are like 4 possible options, and there are like other options also to rebuild your build your standby database. You can use no file name check and file name check. So many parameters you can use it, but these are like common. If you understood these 4, and these are like few parameters, you can do anything. So now your restore is done and recovery also done. If you see here, so recovery we will do it now. So restore, where is that? Restore completed, and you can say switch clone data file all. When you do the active database duplicate, it will take an image copy of your data files from the production. Directly it will restore it here at the standby side, and it will switch the clone data file all. It will switch all those image copies, and then you can see these are the data files. 4 data file it has switched, and then it created all the data file copies. Now I'll set the environment back to ORCL standby, and then I will connect to our main, and then we'll start the recovery now. So we'll check the database role is a physical standby, and now we will see there are 2 concepts here. If you observe these 2 commands here, it's slightly different. Alter database, recover manage, standby database. This is a common syntax you have to use. Alter database, recover manage, standby database, and using the current log file, or just disconnect from session, or you can use this keyword also here. Using current log file and without giving that keyword. What is the difference using current log file or if you don't give current log file? What it indicates? So we'll start it now here, and I'll explain what that using current log file or without using current log file. And then we'll see here, and this is a gap you can check. No row selected, so we'll do some archelog switch here. Alter system switch log file, right? So if I do it here, not it. If I run it one more time here, not it. We'll check the log file, what happening. Show parameter log. Show parameter log or trace or show parameter trace or dump. You can get the trace file location. ORCL standby, ORCL standby, cd trace. This is the tail -f. Okay, interesting, and getting some TNS errors. Okay, error in identifying your file service. One for the connecting to ORCL, standby for fetching the gap. Okay, your the connection method here, it has got changed to ORCL standby, and again it's appended with the standby. So let's go back to TNS names. Okay, SQL plus / sysdba show parameter service ORCL standby, that is fine, and I'll check it at show parameter service. Here also ORCL is fine, and here also ORCL standby is fine. Whereas when you check your alert log, you know, the file service connecting to the ORCL standby for fetching the gap. So if I go at my production site, show parameter file, there is no file client or the file server here. It is only file server as set to ORCL standby. And if I go back to my standby site and show parameter meter file, and you can see here the file server, it is set to ORCL standby and standby. So the name should be either ORCL standby or the ORCL standby. So since the service name is ORCL standby, I'll rename this file service with this ORCL standby. The command is, let me check the command. Command is here in the when we did this one, right? Okay, not here. I'll cancel this one. Let me open that. The file server and file, you can set it here. File server, and you can see file server is set to ORCL. Now I'll do this one, ORCL SB. Right, so I will do shutdown. So ideally, when you shut down your database, you have to stop your MRP, and then all those, like, you have to, when you're dealing with production, you have to stop your log shipping and all those. But since this is lab environment, I'm directly shut down my standby. So those are like best practices. It will comes once you start working more and more, right? Look, you have to follow those all standards. And then one more thing, like, while starting up your standby database, you can just do startup, and then you no need to give startup mount and all those things. All the standby database, if you do startup, max it will go to read only mode. Okay, so Aditya, can you please explain file server? Oh, that's a huge concept. Definitely that will take, but I'll try to explain in few words. Wait a second. Startup. No, see, I'm just giving a startup here. Your standby database will never be opened. Maximum it will go to the read only mode. So you no need to give startup mount or startup read only, or just do startup. It will go up to maximum read only mode. So if it's a database opened, but it will be at the read only mode. If I go select name, comma, open underscore mode from $, database, you can see read only mode. So not to worry, just give startup also, doesn't matter. Okay, next what happens? I'll start again the log shipping. Where is that log shipping command? Okay, so I'll start using current log file. And then we'll check the gap now. See, all the RK logs are applied. And if I do one more switch log file here, system switch, and if I do same command here, 101, it is not yet came, not yet came. Do one more time switch here. Not yet came. We'll tail that alert log. Completed. Okay. Still the transfer is not happened. That again depends upon the network. So if you see here, like all whenever the transfer happens, automatically that will be applied. So here also, if I see my show parameter, trace or dump or whatever it is, you can do. Exit. VRCL trace tail -f alert. Okay, log shipping. And then if I go here, not yet transferred. Yeah, it will take some time based upon the network feed. Okay, so okay, FAL server and the FAL client. Can you configure the data guard from the primary, that is a Linux, to AIX? See, if you go to MOS document, heterogeneous data guard, heterogeneous data guard, data guard. Oracle has the okay. Data guard supported heterogeneous primary and standby. If you go to this particular document, right, it talks about which server to which server, which are all supported. If it is comes under that category, where is the MOS document? There's a MOS document for that. Let me see if I am able to. So you have to make sure that whether it's supported or not. If it is supported, then definitely you can go for that. There is a MOS document. Okay, this one. Let's see. Even I have done it for once, but it is rarely asked question, right? Different versions, obviously, no, Narayana, like you cannot have the data guard from 11G to 12C or 12C to 11G. Your database version should be same for the data guard. That is what is supported. If there's a mismatch also, it is not supported from the Oracle. I'll tell you reason behind. Even though if you do your data guard upgrade, so database upgrade of your production, automatically your standby will be upgraded. So there is no concept of putting in different version. But patch, obviously you can have it. So patch, what happens, right? Oracle strongly recommend to apply the patch on the standby side first and keep it for 1 or 2 weeks, and then apply the patch at the production site. That's what the recommended is. Because what happens in the when it comes to the patching, you will apply the patches at your standby site on the Oracle binaries, but you will not be running any catalog, is any catalog or data patch or all those, like you will not be able to running at your database side. You will just apply it binary level and keep it. When you patch your production database and run the data patch and all those, automatically when the log ship happens, all the dictionary, everything will be built at your standby side. Patching, obviously you can do. You can have two different versions. And when it comes to the database versions like 11G, 12C, that is not supported. So yeah, coming to the FAL client and all, FAL server. Okay, this is the one. Yeah, Narayana, this is the answer for your question. You go to this particular MOS document, it says which all supported versions. The data guard support for heterogeneous primary and the physical standby in the same data guard configuration. Like you can see the platform and the platform IDs. If you can see Solarize and this one HP and HPIA and HP Intelix and IBM on Power, Microsoft Windows, Linux 32-bit, and then Windows, Linux. Yeah, you can go to this document. This document talks about heterogeneous data guard. Okay, so next, this ask about the file client and file server. Okay, so I'll just go to this particular notes. Okay, where is that? Remote file server, that is RFS. Okay, before that, let's see here. I will quickly cover this concept and then I will try to explain that. Okay, so here when we started this log shipping, I explained about these two different commands here. If you use this using current log file, and if you don't mention the current log file, I use this one using current log file, and then I did not. If you don't mention that using current log file, and the difference is, if you don't mention that using current log file, the archive log will be transferred from the production to the standby, and then those archive log will be applied at your standby site. And if you mention using current log file, this concept comes into picture. The redo log transfer. Your production database log writer will generate archive logs. Log writer will write it to online redo log. The moment online redo log is generated here, that entire online redo log will be transferred to my DR site with the help of this RFS, and then that standby redo log will be applied to my standby database directly. That's a real-time apply. If you mention using current log file, that is going to be your real-time apply. If you don't mention this current log file, and then this will not come into picture. This RFS online redo log will be generated at standby side, and this standby redo log will be archived, and this archive will be applied to standby database. This is without using that current log file. That's a different that's the difference here. If you want a real-time apply, you have to mention that keyword using current log file. If you don't mention that current log file, your archive log will be applied. If you mention that current log file, directly your LCR logical change record will be applied to at your standby site. So that's a real-time apply they will call. And if you don't mention that, that's a archive apply. Troubleshooting part, how to work or check the troubleshooting part. Again, Ajay, like troubleshooting just now we've seen, right? It's all comes based upon the experience, right? So we have seen like two issues just now today. One is when restore was failing because our SP file was there, and then it was unable to create a SP file. And the second thing is, again, this file server is the one issue we seen. It is unable to fetch the log because of my file server was wrongly set between the production and standby. And if you see in the standby alert log, you have to see this message in transit. In transit means your standby is in sync with a production. If you don't see this one, it means there's a gap and still archive log has to apply. If I can connect back to production standby database and check the same command, it will be up to date now. So if I run the same command, select log sequence, that in transit keyword is very, very important in your alert log. You can see those two logs, whatever we created. Earlier it was 101, and now it says 102, 103, 104, all are applied. So that's what the meaning of in transit. So you have to media recovery waiting for in transit means there's no more archive logs at the production side to apply. That's why it's a media recovery is waiting. So these are like a few of the keywords, quickly by reading your alert log and all, you will make sure that your database is in healthy, your standby is in healthy, and then it will be in sync. So let's quickly talk about the file server. I'll just open the Oracle document, file server and file client. Where's the Oracle document? Okay. File client, yeah. File server. Okay, file client. Let's talk about the file client. File client specify the fetch. That's fetch archive log. That's a file stand for fetch archive log. Client name that is used by the file service and configured through file server parameter. it referred to the file client. The value of again, if you read, you will not get confused. Like, just to simplicity, I will just go over what exactly you need to set here. Where is that? Not here. Okay. Yeah. Where is that file client? Okay, here. File server is going to be always runs on your standby side, because that's a fetch. What's that? What is that full form? I'm very weak in remembering those names. Okay, fetch archive log. Fetch archive log is the one. If you remember this concept, what I told you. If you come to the data guard services, always remember production database is responsible for sending archive logs, and standby side is responsible for applying all the archive log, and if there are any gap, it will fetch all your all your missing archives. And again, if I go back to this particular this slide, it talks about RFS, remote file server. And then if you understand that, you will easily make out what is file client and what is file server. File server is the one which should always run on your standby side. File client is the one which is always run on your production side. And that is why if you see this command, your file server is always your standby side, and file client is always your production side. File server, what happens whenever there's a gap, your file server will request for the archive logs, and the file client is the one production database will always sends out whatever those missing logs. And again, when the interview question comes, who is responsible for resolving my gap? File server is the one which will request for missing archive logs. For example, 110 at my production site, 105 at my standby side. All those 5 missing archive logs, my file server, that is my standby side, it has to request to my production database. Once the request is made, my the remote, my redo transport service is responsible from the production side to send those archive logs. Right? These are the few concepts, when you repeatedly read, you will understand. Even if you ask me, like, again, I may forget, like, these all same concept. You have to be in touch always and regularly, then you will understand. That's a point. Like, again, Pratap, these are like few topics, like converting converting this role. That's a new concept. That's a next concept. We'll take it in our next probably next class, next session, because the switchware is already ready. This particular document talks about that, what are steps, and then what all command you need to execute. So all are ready here. So, but that will take again 1 more hour. That this is not today. We'll take it one more time. Okay, see, Ajay is telling file client and file server on both primary and standby. See, that's a concept. It is not necessarily you have to set it on both primary and the standby side, until unless if you think of your switching over and failing over when you're talking about your DR drill activities. So when you are setting your file server and file client in the production side, you will set like this. In the production side, you will set it file server as your DR side and file client as your production side. And when you want to set the same parameter at your DR side, the services will become file server will become your production side, and file client is become your DR side. Why? Because when you do the switchover, that time it will comes into picture. But when you are not thinking about switchover, you no need to worry about this file client at your production side. Sorry, file client at your DR side and file server at your production side. Because if you set file client and file server and both the side, production and DR, that will helps only for switching over and switching back. For that reason, it will help, but it's not mandatory to have to set it on both production and standby. Right. So with that, I am done for the today. Any last questions? Few more minutes we can bear, and we can close the session if no questions. Right. So now we can conclude the session. Thank you guys. Thanks for joining this, and we'll catch up again in our next webinar. Thank you.